Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Content Everywhere Hub stage today. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Andreas Waltenspiel, General Manager of Waltenspiel Consulting, based in Munich, Germany. I'm in industry since more than 20 years now. I used to be 10 years, a bit more at Nagra, so security is in the DNA. I'm happy to chair the panel today about securing content to protect revenues and the ecosystem. Just a few words about what we do. It's quite easy. 3 things: IP licensing and contracts. If you want to build a license agreement license for somebody, the 3 of you here, we can talk. If you need a license from one of them or others, we should talk as well. You want to do go-to-market strategy, sales, trainings, and so on. That's other things we do. And having worked with 150 partners over the last 20 years, if you want the cheapest, do a reverse auction. If you want somebody very good who's there in good and bad times, we can have a discussion. Enough about me. Now to the topic. So, securing content to protect revenues. There we go. So, many things happening in security. One of the things is people go direct to consumer. Apple Plus is coming, Disney Plus is coming. It's getting more and more difficult for people to see the content they want to watch from one platform. So if I'm in Germany, I want to watch soccer, the Champions League is on a different platform than the Friday games and the Sunday games. And if I want to add volleyball or hockey or rugby, I'm lost. So we see people cutting any subscription, not just the cord, cutting pay TV. So there is a strong need for a super aggregator. And I fear one of them could be those guys. So you can go on Alibaba and buy for $50 a box that allows you to have 1,000 channels in shockingly good quality, shockingly great UI. And I think our 3 panelists today will help us to talk about why and how they're going to make sure that this is not going to happen. So, without further ado, I invite Jürgen on stage. Jürgen is a Director Partnerships now for Axinom, a Germany-based DRM company. And he's going to talk about the increasing amount, the need for protecting the revenues in our industry. Welcome, Jürgen, on stage. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Andreas, for the intro. Hi, everyone. As told, I'm Jürgen from Axinom. And yeah, just like 2 weeks ago, I changed the title, so sorry for the confusion here. So I've been in Axinom for the last 7 years already. I guess I have had quite a good insight into our products and into industry over that time. What Axinom does in general, yes, so we have been on the DRM market for the last 13 years, so quite some history there. Besides that, we have also areas we cover in the content management side and helping our partners to bring their products to market in more end-to-end fashion, but DRM is there always in a very important position. So as told, yeah, we started with DRM about 13 years ago. At that time, we right away stepped into the OTT DRM, the modern way. But actually, the very first project we did even with DRM was on board of aircraft at that time, because the world's first wireless streaming system was about to launch, and we were playing key role in developing that. And so DRM was a requirement because premium Hollywood content on board is a must, and Play-Ready and Silverlight was the way to get it on board. Now, of course, times have moved forward. We have added further DRM technologies to our platform. And I think in the last couple of years, sometimes, of course, you try to understand where is the business, is it going to grow, is it going to reduce, and sometimes you think, okay, so many companies, first of all, have already implemented DRM. There are also so many competitors launching bigger platforms, incorporating DRM systems into their workflow already by default and building out themselves maybe. But the amount of new companies who want to license premium content, either greenfield companies or those who have been doing non-premium so far, this growth is just phenomenal. Both in the OTT market, you see really small players around the globe, like, I don't know, from Mongolia to Nigeria, to really big players big telcos implementing DRM only now, or even just thinking to do it in the next 12 to 24 months. And as told, so our first project was for the aircraft. So that is actually another area where we see tremendous growth, because people want to consume content really everywhere. But we are definitely not in the place today where you can stream online everywhere and for each location. So they need to put the DRM on board of different vehicles, or to deploy it locally in some jungle villages or in military bases, or I don't know, submarines. That's pretty crazy. We so far yet haven't had requests for aerospace, like for spaceships, but I'm hoping that Elon Musk is going to call us very soon. So really, you see the DRM going everywhere, and DRM required content. And that's where also then the threat lies, right? So the more you distribute the content, the more you bring it out to different devices, and maybe also need to deploy the license servers in places you never thought that they would run, like 5 years ago. This definitely brings the challenge how to protect all that and make sure that every people in the chain understand what they have to do to make the solution actually secure. Because I'm always telling my customers, you can't rely on just, I take now DRM, I make some checkbox, DRM deployed, and then hope that your solution is now secure. No, the people in the company need to understand what this DRM is, why it is there, and you also need to think about the whole chain, how you process content, how you bring it to the customer, what other steps you need to take to make the solution secure end to end. So I think during this panel we're going to go a bit maybe deeper into some of these details. Happy to be part of this panel. Back to you, Andreas.
Thank you. Thanks, Jürgen. Next on stage, we'll have Olga Kornienko. She's COO and co-founder of EZDRM. And the interesting part is they offer DRM as a service. So, Olga, happy to hear more from you. Welcome on stage.
Thank you, Andreas. Hi, everybody. My name is Olga Kornienko, and I'm the COO and co-founder of EZDRM. Briefly about the company. We are the original DRM provider that started out as a service. We were founded in 2001, and our idea originally was DRM as a service. We're a New York-based company. We are purely DRM company, and we made that choice a really long time ago to simply do DRM and not decide to be a master of, or a jack of a lot of trades, just be a master of one. We have a proven security and liability track record. As I said, we've started in 2001. Our customers are all over the world. And we believe that simplifying the process of DRM and DRM implementation and making sure that everybody understands what DRM is the best way to go. We founded our company on understanding that threats are an evolving change. And if you are worried about your revenue, which everybody should be, then you should be concerned about security. A recent study has found that in the US, over $29 billion are lost to piracy. Think about that, $29 billion every year. So for the same logic that you wouldn't go out and create a brand new lock to put on your door when you move into the house, you just go and buy a lock. You really shouldn't be creating your own security. You should trust somebody you know who has specialized in security for, well, almost 20 years to help you out in that regard. And just because we do security does not mean we have to be a large, huge company. A small company specializing on one specific topic is a beautiful thing. We offer simple microservice that allows you to use our infrastructure and grow it as you need and scale it down as you decide that you need to slow things down or demand decreases for a little bit, which is a benefit to most of our customers because it allows them to have pretty quick uptime, and you don't need a lot of infrastructure and a lot of know-how to do things. We manage the environment for you, and we are a constant, ongoing source of information and knowledge about this industry and this technology that may not be a specialty for everybody. And I guess in this point, I'm going to pass this back on to Andreas, and we can continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Olga. So the two of them, Olga and Jürgen, have been speaking more on the general topic of security from Orly. She's Senior Product Manager for Video Security at Synamedia. She's going to talk more specifically about the threat of stealing credentials and what that means. Orly, the stage is yours.
So good morning, everyone. I'm Orly Amsalem. Let me get that. Product manager at Synamedia, anti-piracy solution video security. So the topic here of this panel is content is everywhere. And it's a good thing, actually, that content is everywhere. It's a big advantage both to the viewers that can, access the content from wherever they want. They have on multiple devices and so on, so they can really enjoy content as much as they want. And it's also good for service providers that can actually monetize through multiple devices. They have better services, and it sounds really great. But the thing is that when we are talking about content is everywhere, it's not just about stealing the content, which is a dangerous thing to service providers. And as my friends here just said, that it could be end up in pirate networks that are selling this and so on. There's another thing about content that is being everywhere. And it's that content is accessible everywhere. And by accessible, I mean the service. It's the actual service. It's not just about the content. So sharing credentials for OTT applications gives you actually the access to the full service. It's not just about the content. And this is something that brings many, many challenges to the service providers and also on the personal level of the account holder. So first, what I'm talking about, what is the problem? So this is something that we see very often. In Synamedia, we are monitoring different aspects of credential sharing. And one of them, we go to social networks, we go to hacking forums, and we gather information to understand how the thing is working, who's behind this. Because it's not just that credential sharing is a social norm, like everyone are doing this, like with family and friends. It's also becoming an industry of something that can pose security risk on each and every one of us. So this is like a post we've seen on Facebook. Sharing is caring. Someone is asking for credentials. By the way, he's not asking for anything in return. Sometimes we say, like, who wants to swap my Hulu with your Amazon and so on. This guy is just asking, sharing is caring. Can you give me credentials for Hulu? And the interesting thing is that people actually say, yes, we have it. And by the time actually people answered, this guy was already set up, he got what he wanted and got the credentials. And we see many of these. So this is what I'm talking about, sharing credentials either with family and friends, what we at Synamedia call casual sharing, or in a fraudulent way, credentials that originates from breaches of compromised credentials list, ending up used to other cybersecurity attacks. So, as we said, content accessible everywhere comes with risk. And the way we see it, we are talking about two risks. The one is very obvious, very direct, revenue loss. Instead of getting paying subscribers from the to your service, actually, many users are free riders. They are getting the full access to your service without paying for this. So this is very obvious. But when it comes to fraudulent activity, when it comes to stolen credentials, the risk is much, much higher the way we see it. Because it's service providers and OTT operators, they want a very smooth onboarding process when it comes to their TV services. So you don't need to do many times two-factor authentication. You're not required to change your password. All the good and best practices to protect your identity when it comes to TV services are not really there. Hackers are actually taking advantage of this. They can easily take lists of credentials that were breached. And since the beginning, just the beginning of this year, it's over 4 billion accounts, credentials, and passwords that were stolen from multiple big sites, such as Facebook, Marriott, whatever it is. And these credentials are being used by hackers to perform what we call credential staffing attacks. When they take these credentials and they're trying them against multiple services, under the assumption that most of us are lazy, we're going to use the same username and password across multiple services, and they get hits. And when they just resell those credentials to the TV service for half the price, and if it's not going to work, these credentials, then easily they will replace it with another set of credentials, and it's becoming an industry. We see big operators' credentials on marketplaces. We see them with a dollar value associated with them. So this is actually the risk that we are looking at as a security risk. So just we're going probably to elaborate more on the technologies and what you can do about it, but we believe in a protect, detect, and respond method to deal with credential sharing. So first, the protection is more on the personal level, right? We can adopt the best practices for protecting our digital identity. We can change our password more often, not share them with anyone else, change between services, maybe agree to use two-factor authentication, and so on. But this is on a personal level, and not everyone are sophisticated as to do all of these things. So it's also about the service providers and the OTT operators to take an action and actually keep the digital identity of their subscribers safe. And at this point, what they can do is actually detect and respond. So by detecting, I mean understanding the threat landscape, understand what's going on, where their credentials can be found, and also pinpoint the specific accounts in their user base that are actually sharing their credentials. And of course, respond accordingly by either suspending accounts, sending alerts to the rightful accounts holders, reset their password, and so on. There are many technologies that they can actually do that and keep us safe. So this is it. Synamedia is the largest service provider for video distribution technologies as well as video security. We have a variety of security solutions, starting with conditional access DRM, anti-piracy solution. If you want, we are right there. Come to visit. This is it.
Ollie, stay on stage.
Okay, right.
We all thank you. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have 26 minutes for chat. So we're going to have a panel discussion. This session will be recorded. You'll find it on the IBC website. We're going to have, if you have questions, we're going to record all things. So we have questions for the audience at the end. Stay around a little bit, or can maybe have a chat with the panelists even later. For the next 25 minutes, we're going to discuss and see where in more details are we heading. So first, thank you, all of you. So Jürgen, you said you started in the aircraft business. So that's surprising, because so I'm in the plane. How we're gonna get to pirate the content? Why is security important on board on a plane?
Well, let's say so that in the beginning, when we were implementing the solution, and then we did a few test flights also with some other systems on the market, and that was pretty surprising that when you go on board and you have a little bit of knowledge what's going on, then you can quite easily get access to the actual video on board. And now think, in case of aircraft, you quite often have things like early window content or really fresh movies. So you definitely want to protect that. And also on the probably the other leakage factor could be that the people who do the maintenance, who bring the content on board or run chores on board of the aircraft, they on some conditions could have access to the servers, and that would make it also possible to get the movies out. So if you don't apply any protection on them, it's a quite good source of leakage.
Okay. So it means content is everywhere, it's accessible, it's to the airplane staff, the guys who load the computers. You said we need to put locks on everything, and it seems it's not, if you have a castle, enough to put it on the bridge. You need to put it on every little window, even on the chimney, right?
That would make sense.
So once you have done that, are you in the business of putting locks, or are you in the business of operating the locks when you say DRM as a service, or is it both?
We are in a business of enabling your business, so to say, but we are in a business of both putting a lock on and then giving you all the tools and the power to unlock it however you see fit. So both sides of the spectrum. Because you have to protect the content on one hand, but on the other hand, allow the consumers to have access to it in a way that allows them to view the content, and it doesn't inhibit your business model and allows you to generate the revenue that you want to generate, because at the end of the day, hey, we're in this world to make a living.
Okay. So is as a service a general trend in security? Is it mandatory to become and offer things as a service versus the operator manages it still themselves?
I think it's a... Now, if you ask me, I think it should be as a service. I think that you cannot be an expert in everything. That is why we hire specific people to do specific things. With that said, I think that it's a good idea to have experts and specialists in the field do specific things for you. Because when we start a business, we have a great idea, and we are passionate about our idea, and we know that we need pieces A, B, and C to get this idea to work. But we don't need to become an expert in A, B, and C to do this idea. So if you find a company that specializes in just one tiny part to make sure your business runs smoothly, that I think is what it should be.
Okay. Jürgen, for you, same as a service as an offer for you?
Yeah, so as we also have an as a service, as a software as a service, then I also think, and I agree with Olga, that building up something, so I think first of all you should think about what you're trying to do. Is it standardized? Or is it something common, or is it something super special to your business? If it's really something very super special, yeah, of course, you may need to do it inside your company. But if you talk about DRM, I think this is something that you can definitely standardize. So it means why keep the team inside your company and try to keep them up to date with all the changes which happen so fast in this industry. Rather take an expert who can support you at any time of the day and who really keeps an eye on all the latest changes and brings them to you without you having to hustle for that.
So I think that your two companies are a bit different from Synamedia, so don't worry, I'll have questions for you as well.
Although I have a comment about
okay,
as a
please,
service.
go.
Actually, as a service, from our point of view, especially when it comes to credential sharing, which, by the way, we offer this as a service, predictive analytics as a service, it's important because it allows you to scale. You start small, you go big. It's like Olga said. So I join Olga. I think it's a very important thing when it comes to security. Give it to someone that this is their specialty, and make sure that you can scale. You want to make sure that you control everything in during the process, but the actual work should be left to professionals.
Okay. So you all mentioned we have content everywhere on any device, anywhere, whether it's in SpaceX or in a submarine you mentioned, maybe not so much so far, but in cars, in planes, in trains, at home, on the go, on your tablet, on your phone, anywhere. Can I have one solution that fits everything? Don't I need multiple DRMs to address all this zoo of devices?
I can take that. Well, there are a number of DRM technologies out there that you will need to address, as you said, the zoo of devices. I like that. The three most prevalent DRM technologies are PlayReady by Microsoft, Widevine by Google, and FairPlay by Apple. And our company, we believe that you need to go with what is native to the device that you are delivering content to. I think we believe that it takes away an extra layer of complexity and it simplifies the process to the point where you don't need to have technology on top of a technology on top of a technology, because if this middle piece changes, then it might throw off the balance and create issues. So we have discovered that going native with PlayReady from Microsoft to Windows devices and Google's Widevine to Android devices makes things just that much easier and makes delivering content very smooth and very simple.
Yeah, I can write to that, because I think what is important is that while bringing on security, you shouldn't disable in the end the consumer to consume. And so why should you say, hey, our service works only on Chrome browser if user actually is every day using Edge or Firefox or something else, right? So or Safari. So yes, definitely give the user a chance to use their preferred tools. And on the background, do the things which are needed to enable it, which needs to be totally invisible to the end user. And I think with today's multi-DRM technology, it's totally achievable with CBCS encryption, etc. So it takes away the hassle on the backend side from you. You can serve the same content set to everybody, and on front-end side also, yes, at the same time, users get to keep their favorite devices to consume.
Okay. Synamedia, I'm not sure you're an expert for that, but I think you have your own DRM. You're not working just with the native ones. Why would I want another DRM than just the three mentioned now?
So we actually have our own proprietary DRM, but we also have multi-DRM, which actually creates some kind of an abstraction layer which can integrate with all the native DRMs. And this is something also that is going to be offered soon as a service. Now, why would you go with our specific DRM? So native DRM is not just plug and play. It's not something that it sounds as if you're just taking it off the shelf and then it's all working. So, but it's not the way it works. You need to invest a lot. So we are adding more security layers. We are integrated with other products. For example, our DRM can be integrated with credential sharing, for example. And this is like one of the biggest advantages that we can provide. So if you take the DRM from us, then you can actually get access or easier integration to multiple services that we offer in the anti-piracy. So I would say this is like our uniqueness here.
Okay. So we secured the castle, the windows are locked, it's tight, but if somebody voluntarily hands over the key, which is I'm a paying subscriber and I'm happy to share, how do I prevent that? So what can I do as a content provider to stop it?
Okay, so the prevention here is a bit weak. You can't really prevent credential sharing. Most of the times when it comes to stolen credentials, the rightful account owner is not even aware that their credentials were stolen. Yeah. So we believe in the approach of detect and respond. And it's very important to do it on a ongoing basis, because credentials, every other day we read about more credentials that are being breached, and they can end up with access to your service. So in the detection, actually, it's also important to be able to focus on what you are detecting. It's not enough to say, okay, this account is being used in a fraudulent way, or just say honest or not honest. Because if you want to take a respond and take an action, you would like to target specifically the accounts that you're talking about. One of the things that are very important to service provider is the user experience. Nobody wants to, accuse the users for nothing. We want to avoid false positives. So providing more information about during the detection process, like what kind of sharing is being done, for how long, give some more environmental information that helps you to understand really what's going on, can help you actually to fine-tune your models, to avoid false positives. And I can give like an example. So one of the use cases that we are looking at are credentials that are being originates from breach credentials or compromised credentials that were stolen and then were on sale. And usually if you invest in stealing credentials, it's not just to watch TV, it's to make a business out of it. So by being able to say, okay, this particular account was found in this and this breach of credentials on this and this date, and since this date we see that the behavior of the account changed, and we noticed that there is a pattern of the behavior that is associated with for-profit usage, then all of this information can first helps you to understand that you're really targeting the right account. And one other thing that we are doing is we are able to differentiate within the devices, who is the account owner and who are the free riders. So once you're able to break down one account that is being used by multiple, different, what we call hidden households, right? So I'll give an example. So if I'm sharing with you, it's one account, but actually forming two households that could have paid. So we are able to break the account down to this level. So you can actually target the account owner in one way, the free riders in another way. So the response is very, very effective. So for example, for the account owner, we might just want to reset the password. For the free riders, even do nothing or promote or whatever. When they will be logged out, they won't have the password, the new password, and therefore we were able to disrupt, maybe for just a short while, but it's a cat and a mouse game. They will
destroy the experience.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds like you need a lot of AI, machine learning to do this.
Yes.
How important is that in general in security? Is it?
Yeah. So.
Or just the buzzword? No.
So I think it's actually a key. Especially when it comes to things that are not 100% sure. Even when you do such a detection, so you have all the information, all the indicators, but you don't know. You're not living within the head of the user. You don't know if they really shared it or. So having good algorithm, having machine learning with that are improving over time, taking the feedback from project that you are doing and tuning these models actually helps you to be better. So this is a process, and usually in machine learning, the results are getting better as more data as you have, because data in machine learning actually equals experience. So it's important because it allows us to actually target the right audience, not to interfere with other honest users that are not doing anything wrong. And service providers, like what they usually do in order to address credential sharing, they limit the concurrencies, they limit the number of devices that you can register. But we are saying no, leverage this, increase the concurrency limits, use machine learning application in order to detect specifically what you want, target them specifically, and monetize on both ends.
Mm-hmm. How do you see that? Is it AI becoming more and more important and machine learning in this industry?
Yes, so I think so that there basically probably isn't an industry that couldn't be one or the other way enhanced by the compute power, by putting computers to do a lot of things to create some pattern, right? And in content security, I think it's definitely the case that, for example, if we talk about the moment when something has already leaked, let's say there is a live stream, restreaming, or also on-demand content is out there, then definitely AI and machine learning can help us to automate and vastly speed up the process of crawling through all the potential places where the content usually is being distributed that is pirated, and to analyze this content automatically to understand that, for example, if it says in the title 24 hours of cat videos, but actually it's the World Cup's final that's being streamed there, so that machine tells you, okay, guys, there is the leakage happening, and it's confirmed that it's this content. Let's do something. Let's take it down as soon as possible. So I think that definitely helps to speed up the process of discovering, for example, when something has leaked.
Okay, Olga.
Yeah, and on the same topic, 'cause I mean, if content is protected by DRM, then there's a whole zoo of license requests that comes out.
I like the zoo.
I like the zoo. There's a whole zoo of license requests that is constantly hitting the content owner saying, I want to watch this content, I want to watch this content, I want to watch this content. And machine learning can definitely help out figure out if the requests are legitimate, if one specific person is requesting a millionth license for the same exact piece of content in the span of 2 minutes, because obviously that shouldn't be happening. It's not realistic, and machine learning can help us figure out exactly what is going on within the current stream, current broadcast, and help decide how much fake licenses are going out there or fake requests and stuff.
Okay. So that means I'm a content provider, a telco, pay TV operator. There's multiple risks. So it's like bringing the content to the consumer, the consumption itself. He could videotape it, he could leak it, he could share his credentials. So it's a whole end-to-end from even in the production in the studio, right, until it's consumed. Where, and that's a question to each of you, where do you see the biggest issues today? And we have 5G, we have IoT coming, the attack surface is growing. How do you see it evolve in the next few years? Maybe you're going to go first.
Yeah, so first of all, I think there is still a huge problem in terms of the devices and the applications through which the content is being consumed. So I think right now there are still lots of implementations on the market which are done in a very sloppy way, so not following the best practices, not following the robustness rules. So it means that when you send the content out to such devices, you make it right away available for much easier attack for stealing. And probably also just in general, the security hygiene is still a little bit of a problem. So yeah, many companies still treat, for example, DRM. So yeah, we have studios told us we have to deploy DRM. So we just say, okay, somebody knows DRM, okay, DRM, good, checkbox, and done. But they don't think through the processes then how they're actually going to apply it, or that they're people, as I told, in their company also know what DRM is and how it works and what should be done on their side to make it really effective. So I think there is still a lot to be done on the education side, so that people handle things right.
And where do you think it's going to move to? It's going to stay the same? The threats will be the same?
Education is really it's a slow process, but of course, yeah, I think over the last few years, I see a positive trend in terms that just more and more there's more and more requirement for example for DRM, so people just need to look it up, they need to educate themselves. So I think it will get there in the next couple of years.
Okay, thank you, Olga.
So to add on to what Jürgen said, we do see the fact that people and companies just go out and license content, and then they say, well, I have a DRM requirement, I have a contract with a DRM provider, done. And there are companies out there that do not even implement the DRM. They just say, I have a contract, I fulfilled my obligation. Or go as simple as, say yes to everything. It doesn't matter what kind of request it is, just yes, 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 watch it, yes. I think the DRM technology needs to be understood more, and thus, as I've mentioned before, I don't think it should be done on your own. And I do think that it's going to become more and more prevalent as it becomes easier to use and implement down the line with CBC, the CMAF format coming in, and having one stream as opposed to two streams that you have to produce and store and maintain and whatnot. So as the technology, and this has been the trend in the past, as the technology gets easier to use and as it becomes less obstructive to the end user, it becomes more and more prevalent and more implemented within the industry.
Okay, thank you. Orly.
So from credential sharing point of view, we do think that the problem will be much bigger. So we see some trends according to Parks Associate on the report that they published on 2017, they predicted that by 2021, the revenue loss to TV operators will be at around $10 billion, and now they update that by 2024, it'll be $12.4 billion revenue loss due to sharing passwords. So this is one. Also, we see that according to different research, one from Agid, that millennials and Generation Z are sharing credentials. It's becoming a social norm. It's not just about them, using the application, enjoying it. It's something that they really think that they shouldn't pay for content. They think it's okay, especially if they are swapping credentials or, having one paid subscription and they want the other service. So they feel quite okay to use someone else's. And they're going to grow. We'll have another younger generation, and so the problem will be bigger. So I agree that some of it is about education, but there is a limit to what we can how we can change the market and educate. It's a long process. So this is why you also need tools and technology in addition.
Okay. So let's use the last 4 minutes to say, if you have one good advice to your potential customers, or maybe the advice you give today, what is it? Jürgen.
Yeah, so I think from
1 minute.
1 minute. Yeah. I think from our side, really, the thing is, talk to specialists. Don't take security as a checkbox on your spreadsheet. Think through what you're going to do in the whole chain, including DRM, including potential other technologies. Educate your people inside your organization so that they understand that you have applied such measures to counteract piracy, and that each person who has to deal with it on day-to-day basis really understands why they're doing it and what kind of value it brings to your company and in the end to your consumer, who in return brings you the hard-earned cash. So.
Thank you. Olga?
Well, since I've basically been talking about the specialist part of things for the whole course of this whole presentation.
It's a wrap-up, yes.
My advice to anybody starting a streaming service is to say, what you're passionate about. Implement your idea, do your job, and trust that you can. There are companies out there that provide specific specialist microservices to help you get there, but do not throw yourself in 12 different directions. Just focus on your passion and your idea and trust others to help you reach that goal.
Okay, thank you.
So my advice is going to be both on the personal level to the end user. Don't take security for granted. Don't use the same credentials over multiple services. Pay attention to something wrong in your service. So this is one thing. But to the service providers and OTT operators, take the responsibility to the safety of the digital and the security of the digital identity of your users. We are, signing up, paying to a service, and we expect that, there are many risks out there, but this is something that they also need to protect. And also leverage this, right? The sharing is going to happen. It's a fact. It become a social norm. Leverage this. You can actually monetize this. So, like the balance, take the right approach in balancing the security and the marketing combined.
Okay, thank you. So we've heard content is everywhere, on any device, in very different forms. We have a zoo of devices. We also have a zoo of DRMs and a zoo of security providers. So when you have a content to offer, take care of it. If you're in the business of making content, you're probably in the business of making money. If you care about money, you should care about security. We talked about zoo. In the zoo, the animals are behind in cages, but in the real world, they're out. And the predators who want to steal your content are everywhere. You need to be alert. Don't be naive. Say, yes, I have a gun license, but going to the zoo without it to the wild, to the jungle, does not make a lot of sense. As such, thank you for being here. It was an exciting discussion with you. And applause for our fantastic speakers, please.
Thank you.